Ooh, la, 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 la. I feel like I'm out of frame. This is really weird. This movie's gonna be so good, you guys. It's gonna be so good. Miranda's movie musings. I'm trying to think of a theme song. I don't think I'm gonna do a theme song. I'm Miranda. This is Miranda's movie musings. So today I'm going to be talking about A Star is Born from 1937, 1954, 1976, and then this year's 2018 version. My goal with these movies was to see the original three before Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper's version comes out this Friday. The first A Star is Born I saw was the 1954 version with Judy Garland and James Mason. I really loved it. That's kind of a regular thing to say. Judy Garland was amazing in this movie. I'm surprised she didn't win a Best Actress Oscar. The acting was amazing, the script was amazing, the music was amazing. It was just all around very well done. Comparing the Judy Garland one to Barbra Streisand's version in 1976, I liked Judy Garland's performance more, partly because I saw her first, but also because I felt more emotion from her in that version rather than with Barbra Streisand. It was a lot of her singing for 5 or 6 minutes and then acting later. I feel like my mom's generation is gonna not appreciate me saying that because, one, I didn't feel as much at the end of that movie as I did with Judy Garland. Two, Barbra Streisand's not my favorite person. So the main difference I saw between the Judy Garland version and the Barbra Streisand version was the ending was different, obviously. In the Barbra Streisand version, Norman Maine didn't feel like a burden as much. The way that it ends wasn't an act of purpose, it was an accident. Rather, in the Judy Garland version, it was a purposeful act. So after the big thing at the end, when she comes out on stage and introduces herself as Mrs. Norman Maine, I broke down. I cried at the end of that one because I just felt her love for him, how much Norman Maine changed Esther's life. It was just much more well done than the Barbra Streisand version. I watched the 1937 A Star is Born on Sunday with Janet Gaynor and Friedrich March. And this one was incredible. I can see why it got Best Original Screenplay in 1938. It was very well written. The acting was incredible. I recognized one of the actors. The actor's name is Andy Devine. He played a guy named McGuire. I recognized his voice right off the bat because he does the voice of Friar Tuck in Disney's animated Robin Hood. And so I thought that was cool that I picked that voice out. And then to watch Norman Maine's spiral down in the 37 version was much more interesting than even in the Judy Garland version with James Mason. James Mason did really well, but Friedrich March was the original Norman Maine. The 1937 version was very interesting because when I watched it, it made sense at the end why Norman Maine does what he does because of the fact that him feeling like a burden on Esther finally made itself clear. In the Judy Garland one, it wasn't so clear to me, partly because I was half paying attention, but also because Friedrich March captivated me a lot more. And so it was interesting to see the common thread of how the movie ends throughout the three versions that have been out forever. And I think the thing I loved about the Judy Garland version with Norman and Esther's relationship was the way we see them fall in love. It wasn't fast, like in the Janet Gaynor version. It was a little fast for me. So out of the three, Judy Garland and James Mason had the most chemistry to me. I noticed that in the 37 and the 54 version, Norman Maine is very sophisticated. He's dressed in a suit and tie all the time. He's more of a producer role. He doesn't have fights with the paparazzi as much. So it was cool to see old Hollywood in Janet Gaynor and Judy Garland's versions. And so it was interesting to compare the first two Norman Maines to Chris Christopherson's Norman Maine, and then now to Bradley Cooper's Jackson Maine, because Chris Christopherson started the grungy, super obvious drunk of a mess that Norman Maine is. From the trailers and the clips I've seen of Bradley Cooper, he's got long hair, he's got a beard, he's obviously drunk all the time. And in the first two, you wouldn't know he was a drunk unless you knew him personally. So it's interesting to see the slight changes in all four different versions and then the commonalities in the four different versions, because the story stayed the same in the first three. There were slight differences in the endings, like I talked about earlier. I read a thing on IMDb that the director or the screenwriter didn't appreciate the way that the first two ended. The way it ends in the Barbra Streisand version, it's more vague on how the thing happens. I'm really, really, really curious and very excited about how the movie this weekend is going to change from the original three versions. I wanted to talk about Oscars because I had have a good sense of which movies this fall and this winter are gonna be Oscar nominated, and A Star is Born falls into that category. Partly because I cry every time I see the trailer, partly because the songs I've heard from it are incredible. Every time I talk about it to my friends and my family, I get chills, I get a little verklempt. I'm almost on the verge of crying right now. It's probably gonna get nominated for Best Picture. Lady Gaga is gonna snag a Best Actress nomination. Lady Gaga is gonna kill this role. I'm gonna be so upset if she's not nominated for this. It's gonna get Best Song, Best Director, Adapted Screenplay probably. It's interesting to think about the Oscar nominations from the first three, because they got nominated for everything. Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Songs. The only one that the first one won was Best Screenplay. It got Best Actor and Actress at the Golden Globes. The Barbra Streisand version got Best Song. That was it. They got nominated for everything else, but they didn't win anything. At the Golden Globes, Barbra Streisand and Chris Christopherson both won for Best Actor and Actress, and it got Best Movie. The Janet Gaynor one got Best Original Screenplay. A Star is Born is on the top of my list right now to get Best Picture, Best Song, Best Actress, Best Actor, Best Director. So, whew, I'm gonna be surprised if it does not get nominated for any Oscars. Like, really surprised. Hollywood loves musicals. They love a good story. Like me, I love a good story that makes me cry. I'm just hoping that they change the ending a little, because I don't want it to be on purpose. Norman Maine felt like a burden. He felt like his career was over. It makes me mad. It makes me really sad, because love should win in these scenarios, shouldn't they? Love should win. Love should always win. I'm gonna cry my eyes out throughout this whole movie. My God. It's gonna be so good, you guys. I'm probably gonna go see A Star is Born 4 or 5 times. Whew.